The second day of Lunar New Year, official son-in-law tattling day, and my green tea husband started playing the martini-soaked victim the minute his bespoke wool slacks hit our sofa. Junie's married to her job, she hasn't come home in 2 weeks. Junie needs her space, we keep separate bedrooms. Junie loves her wine, I play chauffeur every night. Junie won't say the word love, but I feel it glowing in her heart. My jaw unhinged. Wasn't he the one who'd said, no rush to share a room, we just got married? That same night, the night we'd been married 6 whole bedless months, the man finally showed up at my door with a pillow tucked under his arm. Parental orders. Since when did you become so tea-stained? Before we go any further, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment telling us where you're listening from. Ma'am, don't bother checking the guest room. Except for the master suite, every bed and sofa in the house has been relocated. I was tiptoeing toward the guest room when a voice drifted out of the shadows and karate chopped my spine. I whipped around. The housekeeper Richard had dispatched was hovering like a polite ghost. I never said I was sleeping here. I'm just thirsty. I spun on my heel and marched straight into the master suite. The second the door clicked shut, my eyes landed on the gorgeous specimen stretched across the mattress. If I could ignore the fact that he'd engineered this entire fiasco, I might actually enjoy the view. But, Adrian, you shameless green tea bastard. I lunged, snatched a pillow, and hurled it at his smug face. Missed, naturally. He lounged against the nightstand, one brow cocked in lazy amusement. I object to the label unless you can produce irrefutable evidence. Evidence? I didn't need evidence. Yesterday, second day of the new year, I'd planned to make the parental pilgrimage solo. 6 months of marriage, 0 pillow talk, minimal small talk. We were fancy roommates who never met. No, worse than roommates, at least roommates grunt hello in the kitchen. So when I slid into the driver's seat and he tapped on my window, then yanked open the passenger door like he owned the chassis, I cursed myself for not hitting the child lock. I couldn't very well shove him onto the asphalt, so I chauffeured Mr. Sterling to the Vance estate. Second day ritual, son-in-law arrives, registers grievances. None of which concerned me, since Adrian and I communicated exclusively through silence. I parked, strolled inside, and walked straight into his live performance, shirt crisp, tie loosened to suggest emotional whiplash, expression solemn enough for a board deposition. Then came the aria I'd already memorized. Junie's married to her job, she hasn't come home in 2 weeks. Junie needs her space, we keep separate bedrooms. Junie loves her wine, I play chauffeur every night. Junie won't say the word love, but I feel it glowing in her heart. I stood there, finger bouncing between him and me, brain buffering. Separate bedrooms? His idea, said newlyweds needed adjustment time. Guilty as charged. 2-week vanishing act? He'd vanished for a month first. Winegate? One instance, everyone was tipsy, cabs were mythical, I spotted him nearby and hitched a ride. As for love, we'd met exactly 3 times before signing the license, how glowing could my heart be? Yet Dad drank every drop, and Eleanor's maternal instincts short-circuited. Don't worry, dear, we'll talk to her. This won't stand. They collared me before I could bolt and sandwiched me on the couch for 30 minutes of corrective scolding while Adrian sat opposite, eyes wounded, as if I'd personally shredded his prenup. I nearly vaulted over the coffee table to strangle him. Dad aborted that mission before ignition. Verdict: a housekeeper would chaperone, and all extraneous furniture would be relocated until marital bliss was achieved. I protested vigorously. What if guests visit? You expect them to sit on raw hardwood? Then don't entertain. When you 2 lovebirds thaw, the sofas return. Tonight I watched every last bed vanish and felt my soul crack like antique veneer. And here he is, pillow in hand, shrugging under my death glare. Parental orders. Nothing I can do. I considered biting him. What exactly are you playing at, dragging me into the swamp? I scooped his pillow off the floor and hurled it onto the mattress. He studied me with that look, asterisk you already know asterisk, but I honestly don't. Whatever. Damage done. I crawled in, repeating the mantra, sharing a bed doesn't cost flesh, the thing is king-sized, you will survive. Lights snapped off. He settled beside me, every rustle a drumbeat against my rib cage. I hadn't shared darkness since childhood. A virtual stranger now lay inches away, stress-testing my fight-or-flight reflex. I rolled over, intent on maximizing airspace, but his voice stopped me. Planning to steal the entire duvet and freeze me to death? Silent treatment? Tomorrow I'll drop by Richard's. He did say I should speak up. I flung the blanket across him. Shut it, green tea gremlin. Silence stretched 2 full seconds, then his disembodied baritone floated back. Call me that again and I march back to report you. Fine. Tomorrow the housekeeper buys a continent-sized comforter, I'll smother him legally. Just as my pulse leveled and sleep began its approach, he rolled over, torso hovering above me. Instinct slapped my palm toward his cheek. He caught my wrist midair. You really don't know why? Tell me what you said to my mother about us trying for a baby on New Year's Eve. I remember now. What I said was, Adrian's body, TSK, probably needs a tonic, but his pride's huge, the broth I brew for him never gets touched. At the time, under those circumstances, if I hadn't put it that way, I'd have had to admit we didn't even have a sex life. So where would a baby come from? I could only use Adrian as a shield. You're a grown man, and you care about this stuff? Tell me I don't care. Fine, judging by the look on his face, he cares a lot. Still, I comforted him. Relax, only your mom and I know, and she'll never gossip. After all, family scandals stay in the family. Adrian still hadn't climbed off me, his entire weight was parked on my legs. Has this man no clue how heavy he is? Mom sent a housekeeper over today just to cook soup for us. What's the soup for? You tell me. Oh, tonic soup to help Adrian rise to the occasion. Clearly, though, he doesn't look thrilled. It's really no big deal. Drinking it won't hurt you. Suddenly he pinched my chin and leaned down so close it felt like a kiss. Juniper, aren't you scared that once I drink it I'll lose control tonight? My eyes flew open, I'd totally forgotten that angle. Right now, on one side there's the healing broth, on the other my dad's spy checking whether we share a bed. Terrific. I kicked Adrian straight off. His face darkened, he rolled to the other side of the bed. Green tea husband, dragging me under whatever it takes, huh? He tilted his head, flicked my forehead. Juniper, you really giving up on your future happiness? I was speechless, it's not like my kick even landed hard. Melodramatic much? Wait, we have no happiness to lose, so kicking him costs me nothing. Whatever. I'll tell Dad you've got performance issues, divorce you, and boot you out. Try it. Why wouldn't I? You can't perform and won't let me divorce you. How vicious is that? Not half as vicious as you, poison wife. Dead green tea. Tomorrow I'm going home to tattle to father-in-law that you bullied me. Adrian! We fought for half the night. I finally passed out from exhaustion. When I woke, he was gone. I touched his side of the bed, still warm. He can't have been up long. Thinking about last night made me furious again. All that over a tiny thing, big deal. I'll just tell his mom later he's fully functional. After washing up I went downstairs. Adrian sat at the table, a bowl of soup in front of him. I'd barely sat down, ready to gloat, when the housekeeper set a bowl in front of me too. I have to drink? She nodded. The master instructed. I spun and glared at Adrian. He lowered his bowl slowly, dabbed his mouth. Smirk worthy of a punch. If we're toning up, we might as well do it together, can't hurt, right, darling? My smile froze. I knew if I turned on him now, Dad's spy would report everything before lunch. So I sulkily lifted the less than appetizing broth. Thanks, my dear husband. He toasted me with his bowl like we were sampling fine tea. When I finished, I carried my plate to the sink and stalked into the study. New Year break wasn't over, so I juggled email on my laptop. Small company CEO sounds cute, but it's no picnic. I should have let my brother take the whole mess and stayed a pampered heiress. Blame the con he pulled when we were picking majors, economics, sure. Opening the files felt pointless, I couldn't focus. I glanced across the desk. Can't you work in the bedroom? He leaned closer. Why should I? Your face ruins my concentration. I blame today's restlessness entirely on him. When I'm alone I never have this problem. His face paled, through cleanseth he growled, then stay annoyed. Now it was my turn to grind my teeth. What could I do? Endure him? Just as I finally settled, his laptop erupted in laughter. Before annoyance hit, I recognized the voice. Mr. Sterling, heard you're having performance issues. Ha 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 ha. My brain snapped. I shot Adrian a silent plea. This leak wasn't mine. He stayed blank, not a flicker. Hey, no need to hide it from us. We're brothers. Want the number of a solid TCM guy? You're so clued in. Been treated yourself? The screen went quiet. I snorted. Same venom for everyone. Fine, I'd forgive last night's nastiness. Suddenly Adrian crooked a finger at me. Nothing good ever follows that gesture, yet I still waltz right over. Conclusion: hot guys are hazardous. The moment I reached him he yanked me onto his lap. I looked up, and met a giant face on the monitor. My eyes bulged. The jerk was on a video call. Whether I work or not, my wife knows, right, darling? Both the guy on screen and I froze. Then we cursed in chorus. Have you lost your mind? I leapt off his lap, grabbed my phone, and fled the study. Nothing good ever happens when I'm stuck with Adrian. Before the door clicked shut I could still hear the video call voice droning on, even catching Adrian's unrepentant low chuckle. The man is seriously petty. All I did was mention his alleged performance issues in front of his mom, and it's not like he actually has them. Why be so touchy? Isn't it possible, Junie, that he really does have performance issues, and that's why he overreacted? The second I heard Skylar's theory everything clicked. Exactly, if Adrian were totally fine in that department he wouldn't care. The more he cares, the more the accusation has to be true. The stronger the reaction, the higher the chance it's real. Sky, you don't think he's actually not able to, right? You're asking me? Junie, he's your husband, not mine. You'd know better than anyone whether he can perform. I rolled my eyes. If I actually knew, would I be sitting here talking about it? You know we're basically roommates who happen to share a last name. On screen, Skylar flopped over on her bed. Funny, I've never heard of roommates who sleep in the same bed. Total accidents. If my dad hadn't forced the issue, I'd never have climbed in with him. Thinking about it cracks me up. You two are the definition of mutual destruction. I pursed my lips, just as Adrian walked past and overheard. There went my perfect excuse to dodge the baby-making schedule. Look, if you want to know whether Adrian really can't perform, just make a move. If he can't, you've got dirt on him for life. I shifted, positive Skylar's IQ had dropped a few points. And if he can? I'm toast. Toast? You'll just be spicing up your cohabitation. I rolled my eyes so hard I practically hung up on them. Sometimes your best friend is your worst enemy. Only Skylar could pitch an idea that lousy, convinced my life is too cushy. At first sharing a bed with Adrian felt weird, but after a while I adapted, provided you ignore the fact that every dawn I'd nearly shoved him onto the carpet. Other than that, pretty comfy. After Lunar New Year I went back to the office. Everyone got busy. Adrian traveled constantly, leaving me solo in the penthouse. I could finally sprawl in the master suite without fear of drop-kicking him at 2 a.m. Plus Margaret's soup chef had gone home for the holidays, pure bliss. So explain this, why, while I'm dancing at Velvet, does Adrian keep calling? I stared at the screen lighting up, call after declined call. One ignored ring should have clued him in. Yet he kept redialing, zero social awareness. The prize for helpful interference always goes to Skylar. She swiped accept, parked the phone against my ear, and beamed. Juniper. What? Come get me, car's dead. I'd planned to stay sober tonight, instead I downed my cocktail in one. I didn't bother whispering, even a deaf Adrian would have heard the glass hit the table. That's a shame, I gloated. I'm drunk, Call yourself an Uber. Silence, then he hung up. How gracious. Skylar peered at the black screen. He bailed fast. I yanked her into a playful chokehold. Interfere again and I'll tell your dad you're dying for a matchmaking dinner but too shy to ask. Riley, you evil witch. Before I could retaliate, she waved my phone, this time Richard flashing on the caller ID. Never have I shot from a dance floor to a quiet alley so fast. I scolded Dad, then booked a car service for Adrian. That night I vowed to dig up equal blackmail on him. Only angle I had was Skylar's harebrained test. If Adrian really couldn't perform, jackpot. The more I replayed it, the truer it felt. Nightly herbal tonics, shared bed, zero reaction, case closed. I started plotting, waiting for the perfect moment. It arrived faster than expected. Adrian staggered home tipsy, cheeks flushed. Prime opportunity. While he lounged on the sofa sobering up, I ducked into the guest room and slipped into the silk negligee I'd bought on a dare. I sat beside him, rookie nerves showing. Still, mission accomplished, until he spoke. Cramp in your foot? Then why are you shaking it in my face? I nearly cracked my molars. Maybe the question isn't whether Adrian can perform, it's whether he likes women at all. Fuming, I stormed back to the master suite. Half an hour later he walked in, shower fresh, smelling like cedar and mint. No way was I backing out now. I'd started this, I'd finish it. I flipped over and straddled him. What are you doing? You. One syllable and my face rivaled a baboon's butt. In the dark I fumbled for his mouth, but he clamped a hand over mine. Quit fooling around. I wriggled free, adrenaline spiking. Sky was right. Adrian, you obviously can't do it. Knew it. I can't? Before I could slide off, he reversed our positions. Panic hit late. You, MMPH. Let me show you just how unable I am. Moral, never start a game you can't finish. I'd walked straight into a wildfire. Not only could Adrian perform, he could overperform. We burned through my limited stash of protection and still he wanted an encore. My spine and thighs filed a formal complaint. By the time he finally let me breathe, I was one kick away from rolling him off the mattress for good. At least that's how I consoled myself tonight. But most ideas stay just that, ideas. My legs were so weak I couldn't even lift them, while Adrian looked completely unfazed, like he hadn't been the one doing all the work. You pervert. How can you say that, wife? Weren't you the one who wanted to test if I had performance issues? That might be true, but does he have to keep testing? He's clearly taking advantage of me. Thanks to you, by the way, for telling Mom to boil me that soup. Otherwise, we probably would have finished earlier. I slapped my hands over my ears. If I didn't hear it, it never happened. So, in the end, all the backlash landed on me. The deviant still had a conscience. He massaged my lower back later. It felt so good I passed right out. When I woke the next morning, his side of the bed was empty. He must have left for work. I couldn't crawl out of bed, so I messaged the office to take the day off. My being there hardly matters anyway. The moment I unlocked my phone, a text from Skylar popped up. Skylar, so? Did you score? I started to curse her through clenched teeth, but if I told her anything, she'd figure out what happened last night in seconds. Too humiliating. I'm not telling a soul. Me, no score. I'm over him now. I've got my eye on a sweet little pup. Skylar, never said you were into him. Didn't you say nabbing some dirt on Adrian would give you leverage? Me, I've decided this hurt the enemy, wreck yourself strategy isn't for me. I'm the bigger person, he's blacklisted. Don't mention him again. Only after I fired off every word did I breathe easier. What's done is done. Pretend a dog bit me last night. And Adrian's skills weren't half bad, so technically I didn't lose out. I lectured myself with that pep talk, then swung my legs off the bed. The instant my feet touched the floor I almost face-planted. Gritting my teeth against the ache, I hobbled to the bathroom, my battered body one step at a time. That dog Adrian is sleeping on the floor tonight, let him freeze. Of course Adrian ignored my decree. He came home that afternoon carrying my favorite cake. A clear apology. One slice of cake won't buy forgiveness for what you did to me last night. He changed into sweats, sat beside me, and peeled back the box lid, a lazy smile on his face. He was in an excellent mood. Sure, I lost control last night, but you were the one who started it, Junie. Making it sound like everything was my fault. I punched his shoulder. You're on the floor tonight, perv. Floor, my foot. Late that night he still crept under the covers, pulling me against his chest. No matter how I struggled, it was useless. Stop squirming. You know a man who's drunk a vat of fertility soup gets restless after dark. How would I not know? I know plenty. With him pressed this close, I'm not an idiot. I can feel that thing. I just never realized how twisted he is. Animal. After last night's marathon, he still wants more tonight? Then why keep drinking? Are you actually not okay, only cured by mommy's magic brew? Adrian smacked my butt without mercy. Shame flooded me. No one's ever spanked me before. This is intolerable. Spank me today, beat me tomorrow, domestic violence incoming. I rolled over to brawl, but the second I flipped he cupped my chin and kissed me. His lips are soft, hard to believe such a sharp tongue belongs to a mouth this kissable. A pushover for good looks. I was instantly dizzy. Riley, you still don't know which words are off limits. Keep running your mouth and you'll be crying for real one day. Seriously. Damn it, I can't beat him up or outkiss him. I whimpered. I should have never married you. Back then he wasn't my only arranged merger option, yet he alone promised we could live separate lives after the wedding. I'd always hated being fenced in, so I chose him, definitely not for his handsome face. Married life was smooth, everything stayed fine until right before New Year. After that incident, Adrian changed like he'd been body snatched. If he still looked the same, I'd suspect possession. Most unsettling is his current attitude. The moment my reckless line left my lips, he slapped a hand over my mouth, molars clenched. You really dared to say anything, huh? Muffled, I could only glare. The farce finally ended with his apology, and me promising never to joke like that again. Do you think Adrian likes you? Like secret adoration likes you? Otherwise his sudden attitude shift makes zero sense. I stared at Skylar. Before, I'd have scoffed. Now I hesitated. Not just because of that night, but because of the way he looks at me. Exactly like someone who's loved me for years. Especially after we unlocked married fun, his gaze grows more blatant by the day. Am I right? Go home and hunt for love letters or a diary. If he wrote anything, you'll know for sure. I rolled my eyes. A guy like Adrian writing love letters? Impossible. That very afternoon I was proven wrong when I actually found some in the study. I hadn't come to snoop, I only needed a file. While digging, I stumbled on a box. Definitely not mine. Therefore Adrian's. I was about to put it back when Skylar's words echoed. What if this box hides his secrets? Then I'd have brand new leverage on him. I hesitated in front of the box for 5 full minutes before I finally cracked it open. Inside were a bunch of random bits and pieces, and almost right away I spotted several envelopes. My heart started racing. My hand moved on its own, reaching for them, and by the time I came back to myself the letters were already open. Every single one began the same, Dear Junie. I read through them all, stunned, unable to believe it. Adrian had been crushing on me. For years he'd quietly, secretly, been in love with me. Yet as far as I knew, we'd only met at that matchmaking dinner. Could we actually have crossed paths before? I was still crouched on the floor when a knock sounded at the door. I jerked my head up in a panic. Adrian lounged in the doorway, not the least bit flustered that his secret was out. His gaze dropped to the letters in my hand, a lazy smile tugging at his lips. "Aw, busted," he drawled. The instant he shut the study door behind him, alarm bells rang in my head. There was no way he'd let this go. Sure enough, the next second he hauled me up from the floor and pinned me against the desk. I still had the letters clenched in my fist. He plucked them away and tossed them aside as if he hadn't poured his heart into every line. His fingers slid between mine, locking our hands together in a grip that tasted of danger. Adrian, what do you think you're doing? Sweetheart, we've never tested the study, have we? Want to? Damn it, the man really could think of only one thing even when the air between us was this messed up. Not happening. He leaned in to kiss me, I dodged, and his mouth landed on my cheek instead, no complaint from him. Why not? Don't you want to know about my past? He kept closing the gap, breath by breath, letting his scent nibble away at the last of my sanity. All those days I spent pining for you. Truth was, I did want to know, but not badly enough to relive it every time I used the study for actual work. So I begged him to take me back to the bedroom. He kept his promise and told me everything. Except, I didn't retain a single word. When I woke the next morning he was still beside me, but last night was a blur, just scraps of sensation. Spill it. What did you say? Repeat every syllable right now. I pinched his cheeks, and when his lashes fluttered open I was hit with a blast of unfair handsomeness, seriously lethal. How can anyone look this good? He pulled my hands away. I gave you my whole story last night, Mrs. Sterling. You simply forgot. I ground my teeth. Was listening even an option once he got started? In that state, no one could have focused. But he clearly wasn't planning a rerun. So I swallowed a sliver of pride and went for begging. Please, big brother, just tell me. He laughed, brushed a kiss across my lips, tweaked my cheek, and just when I thought he'd cave, he rolled out of bed. Panicking, I scrambled after him and latched on like a koala. If you won't talk, you're wearing me to the office today. He patted my hands, amused. Give me 5 minutes to brush my teeth and I'll finish, okay? I didn't trust him, but my arms were slipping, so I slid off and planted my bare feet on the carpet. Before I could take a step he scooped me up by the waist, set me back on the mattress, then disappeared into the bathroom. I swung my legs and surveyed the room. Last night's clothes were still littered across the floor, couldn't bear to look. Do you know the very first time I saw you? At our matchmaking dinner, right? He said that was the first time I saw him. He'd spotted me long before that. Back then he'd merely heard Riverdale gossip about the spoiled yet adorable Vance girl everyone doted on, and it hadn't meant much. Until, during my freshman year, I delivered some documents for my brother and literally crashed into him. So it was love at first sight? He smirked. Baby, you're gorgeous, but let's not get carried away. No instant lightning bolt, just a flicker of interest that, for reasons he couldn't explain, grew into habit. When word reached him that I was being lined up for matchmaking dinners, he pulled strings at the 11th hour to get himself invited, which is how one more name appeared on my list. I never guessed his backstory, but if the timeline was this long, when had he written those love letters? Knew I couldn't hide forever, Junie. I wrote them every night, imagining you curled up beside me. He looked exactly like a preening peacock, tail feathers fully fanned. I couldn't call it love on my side yet, but I felt something. Still, confronted with this much intensity, I panicked. You know I'm nowhere near that level. Right now this, I gestured between us, is my ceiling. He tapped the tip of my nose. If all Junie wants is my body, I'm okay with that. I kicked him and marched off to brush my teeth. At first I thought Adrian genuinely didn't care whether I loved him back. Then he showed up again outside the hotel where I was pitching a deal, face like thunder, and I knew he cared, desperately. He wanted to play indifferent, but the mask kept slipping. Seeing his dark scowl, I nearly burst out laughing. Know what that lady just handed me? What? Phone numbers for 3 college guys. His expression blackened another shade, yet he didn't dare lay a hand on me. Tempted? He spat the word through clenched teeth. Maybe a little. The next second he yanked me onto his lap. You really just said that? I pinched his cheek, grinning. President Sterling, you're dying to know if I like you, so why keep bottling it up? He studied me for a long moment, then buried his face in the curve of my neck, voice small and wounded. Since you noticed, CEO Vance, could you try liking me? I ruffled his hair, fingers sliding through soft strands, and finally whispered, "I can give it a shot." Finding someone who sets your heart ticking is rare. Might as well treasure it. Thanks for tuning in tonight. If you enjoyed the story, hit like and share it with a friend. We'd love to hear your take in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more juicy chapters. See you next time.